The talking heads on CNN had some thoughts for you on Hillary versus Bernie. This is from the recent election night. Let's watch.
The math says he goes from being a serious threat to being a serious message candidate, someone who's going to stay in this race, who's going to be very, very important, but it becomes very difficult now to figure out how he becomes a nominee.
In fact, I think that word message was probably central to it. Not that Bernie has a very powerful message, but I think a lot of the people who vote for him want to send a message rather than pick a president. And it may be, it's just a theory, I don't have data, it may be that the violence and the talk of violence at Trump rallies said something to Democrats like, whoa, we need to pick a president here, not just send a message. And that I think Democrats mostly think Hillary's a stronger general election candidate. They haven't been voting that way everywhere, especially younger people. And I wonder if the level of seriousness in the campaign on the Democratic side just
It would be interesting to see if...
So the level of seriousness in the campaign on the Democratic side just went up because, you know, Hillary did well that night, so that means that the voters were being serious that day because you want somebody who's more electable in the general election. I mean, let's not be silly. But wait, when you look at the head-to-head polls, you learn very quickly that Bernie's more electable. That's not opinion. That's not conjecture. In the head-to-head polls, Bernie versus the individual Republicans, Bernie does better than Hillary on average. In almost all the polls, he does better than her. So that would mean that in a general election, according to the polling data, if you believe in those crazy things, he's doing better. But Paul Begala leaves the taste in your mouth of the exact opposite. I mean, come on, Hillary's more electable. And, you know, what we're talking about here is picking a president, not sending a message. What a smug way to dismiss Bernie in a condescending way to, like, look down on him like, oh, well, I mean, come on, you're the insurgent candidate, and people are sending a message. But when we saw the violence at Trump rallies, that's when people got serious. Because, you know, the serious candidate is Hillary Clinton. I can't stand these bullshit assumptions and arguments made by people who are part of the establishment. I can't stand them. Because it's insulting our intelligence. Like, it presupposes that people are incapable of doing some research, looking into Hillary Clinton's career, finding out she has taken a tremendous amount of money from Wall Street, and she gave these speeches, and, you know, she has a history of doing their bidding when it comes to regulation and deregulation, and, you know, she was in favor of free trade deals that are outsourcing deals, like NAFTA, and she was in favor of the TPP, pushed for it 45 times before she flipped. Believe me, she'll flip back when she has the opportunity. She was for the Colombia free trade deal. All this stuff. Like, you make it seem like people can't think for themselves and find out, oh, look, she voted for the Iraq War. Oh, look, she voted for the Patriot Act. Oh, look, she's been a hawk for most of her career. Oh, look, she praised fucking Henry Kissinger, who's a war criminal. I mean, to just say, like, well, she's the more serious candidate. No, she's the more conservative candidate. She's the more right-wing candidate. She's the candidate who less represents actual values of progressives and liberals. So when you say, well, she's more serious, you're just talking about the establishment Democratic position who wants the person that they want because they're also center-right, pro-corporate, pro-establishment sellouts. And that's what this is here. You know, one of the main arguments I've made as to why Bernie's so much more of an attractive candidate is that you know his vision. He has a vision. Like, you know what he's fighting for. He's fighting for, first and foremost, getting the money out of the political system and doing campaign finance and making it so that, as he says, millionaires and billionaires can't, you know, own our system. He's fighting for that, and he's fighting to make the U.S. more like other developed nations, where he wants us to have universal health care and education and take our tax dollars and put it towards things that actually make sense, give people paid vacation time by law. This is his vision. His vision is clear. It's social democracy. What's Hillary's vision? What's her vision? The only thing that comes to my mind, and the fairest thing that I can give her here, is incrementalism. Like, okay, maybe we'll take our really fucked up system as it is right now and make tiny little changes in the right direction, maybe, but that's just my rhetoric. And then in reality, when I get there, am I really going to change anything? Who knows? But, you know, she partakes in this corrupt campaign finance system. She's taken a tremendous amount of Wall Street money. She's voted wrong on the foreign policy decisions. And now she says, well, move incrementally in the right direction. That's not a vision. That's a tweak. That's like, maybe, best case scenario, I'll give you a little bit better. But then also, you got to realize you have an opposition party. So when you say, I'm going to give you a little bit better, usually you'll get nothing. But if you're like Bernie Sanders and you're shooting for the stars, as the old saying goes, you shoot for the stars, you might hit the moon. Maybe we don't get single-payer healthcare, but maybe we get a public option. Whereas if Hillary comes along and she says, my position is a public option now, well then you're going to have to compromise and it's going to be watered down from there and we won't even get anything better. Whereas if he says single payer, maybe he gets a public option and he'll fight. We know he'll fight for the issues because he actually believes it and he has a record of fighting for it. Whereas Hillary, what's politically convenient? I took money from my donors. I ain't fighting on that issue. Well, on this one, I don't know. Maybe I'll fight for some liberal social issues. Maybe. It's just he has a vision. She doesn't have a vision. In that sense, he is the more serious candidate. In the sense of doing better in a general election, the polls show us now he would do better in a general election. And maybe that'll change, but those are the polls right now. No acknowledgement of that. Just smug condescension about Bernie and his supporters. So Bernie's supporters have a right to be angry about this nonsense.